Hey guys, how are you? I hope you're all doing very well. This afternoon I'm going to be doing a review of a comedy from Sweden. This is in the Swedish language English subs, released in the year 2007, directed by Roy Andersson, and this film is called You the Living. So You the Living is part of a trilogy. The first one was Songs from the Second Floor that I've recently reviewed. This one is the second one, You the Living, and then the third one to conclude the overall the movies is A Pigeon Sat on a Branch Reflecting on Existence. So this is the second installment, and basically what it is that all three of these movies depict human suffering, and it doesn't necessarily follow one person. It's just a collection of people who are really fed up in life and how life can really get them down, and Roy Andersson just takes you into the minds of these people. Very surreal world, and it's basically a world where there is no forgiveness. It's all very cruel. It's survival of the fittest, and unfortunately the majority of these people aren't fit enough to really succeed in life, so they're basically wallowing in their own self-pity. So the movie, it takes place with some salesmen. You've got a female who is continuously self-pitying. She says that she's going nowhere. She's not happy with her boyfriend. You've got another guy who they like playing instruments to get away from the troubles in their life. And you've also got a collection of other people. But basically the similarity is human suffering and how some people deal with it. And it's done in a very comical way. So what happens and what's in store for each and every one of these characters is something you're going to have to find out for yourself, because that's as far as I'm going with my synopsis. Now my thoughts on You the Living. Although this is the second installment of the series, I actually watched this one last. So A Pigeon Who Sat on a Branch Reflecting on Existence, I have reviewed that one, but I wasn't going to post that until I've actually seen this one. Now the beauty of these films is that it's not really a continuation of a story, so you don't really need to see any of these films in any particular order. But basically what brings all these films together is the human suffering, is that Roy Andersson paints a very different picture of the world, in that is basically no colouring, and all three of the films you can tell that they are part of a series, but there is no continuation of a story. So if you've seen one movie, don't worry, you can see the rest of them without really missing anything, because they're separate stories from each other, but as I said, it does share a similarity of typical Scandinavian humour mixed in with a lot of depressing elements. So this movie, I thought Songs from the Second Floor is one of my favourite movies of all time. I thought that was an absolute masterpiece, and I thought that movie followed much more of a structured story, so it was a little bit easier to follow. Whereas You the Living, and to some extent A Pigeon Who Sat on a Branch Reflecting on Existence, these movies, they tend to suffer from a lot of inconsistencies, and they feel like a collection of very disjointed sort of scenes put into the film, and it doesn't really feel like it makes a lot of sense. So you're not following a typical story, and I can applaud that, because a lot of European directors dare to be different, and Roy Andersson's definitely different. Each film is different from each other. Although it does depict the very same themes, you would think that he'd just recycle the same stuff, but he always manages to come up with something new. So I thought this movie had a lot more humour in it. I thought the first movie was a lot more coherent. This movie had a lot more humour in it, and there's something to do with the third film that I'm not going to give away, because as I said, I just reviewed it, that is a lot different as well. So in this movie I thought the humour was very well done. It's very deadpan, so it's not straight in your face humour, it's not slapstick, it's not the easy type of humour that the United States and the rest of the English-speaking countries, they tend to go for that sort of mode of comedy. And I'm not saying that's, a bad mode of comedy, but this is, deadpan. This is a much more intelligent type, because it really relies on a very strong script. If it doesn't have a strong script and it doesn't have very good actors, then the movie falls flat. And fortunately this movie, Roy Andersson casted very well, because all the characters do it very naturally, and it's the natural way that they exchange words between each other that makes it very funny. And it's a very self-pitying film. All these characters feel pity for themselves, but you never feel like it's annoying. When you see people in real life, they're self-pitying, you think to yourself, please just stop. But in this movie you never get that. It's always very funny. It's done in a very light-hearted way. And as I said in the other films of Roy Andersson's, is that he makes light of a depressing situation, but it doesn't feel like he's exploiting the characters. He doesn't feel like he's making fun of them. He's just lightening the mood so you can enjoy yourself. It's not trying to get you in the dumps. Some of these directors, they try to force it so hard that you just feel really depressed after it. But the beauty of these films from Roy Andersson is that after the end, you think to yourself, I saw a depressing movie, but I feel really good. And you can relate to each and every one of these characters, because we're all going through something bad in our lives, and these characters seem to just symbolise that. So it feels like Roy Andersson has really experienced the harsh realities, and it's the harsh realities that we pretend that aren't there. Romantic comedies like to paint the fairy tale that we all want in our lives. Meeting the best person for us, getting married, having children, living happily ever after, and all those romantic comedies promise that. But on the other side, Roy Andersson, he promises the different side, and it's the different side that is very relevant in today's society. You know, a lot of people don't get what they want. Unfortunately, that is reality, and Roy Andersson depicts that without feeling sorry for himself as a director. He really just allows you to have fun, and it's a very entertaining film. But having said that, not a lot of people might find this entertaining. It depends what kind of film you're after. If you're after an Adam Sandler type of film, this is definitely not for you. This is much more of a kind of insightful comedy, although it is a movie that is having a lot of fun with its deadpan humour. It is also depicting, as I said, real moments in each and every one of our lives, so you can connect to them. They're not just a character, they're solely for the purpose of making you laugh and making you feel entertained. Yes, you're able to be entertained yourself, you're enjoying it, but at the same time you're getting a reflection on life that not a lot of films dare to take up. So I think it takes a lot of skill. Roy Andersson once again delivers in You the Living. As I said, not as good as Songs from the Second Floor, because that movie in particular had much more of a formula to it and much more of a plot that you could follow. Whereas in this movie, it's very random, it's all over the place. It actually feels like just a collection of scenes of people in desperate situations. But the saving grace to that is that although it's a very disjointed film, it's still very entertaining, and what you actually see is very well done. I thought the comedy was masterful, the script was fantastic, the acting was fantastic, you know, everyone was just really down, and after a while it starts to get really funny, and that's something that I can appreciate, because I was expecting to get really annoyed at these people saying, oh, why is my life so bad, and not really doing anything about it to improve their situation. But this movie, it doesn't dwell on self-pity, it just allows the audience to have fun with it and at the same time think about it. So the cinematography was excellent. Once again, the camera doesn't move. This guy knows how to film a scene perfectly, and it adds to the charm of the film, and it adds to the unique flavour of the film. This is a very unique film. I'm not saying that it's for everyone, but if you like European cinema in particular, then You the Living is definitely one to check out. It has its problems, but thankfully there are more positives than negatives. So overall, for You the Living, another fantastic effort from Roy Andersson. I'm going to give it 4 stars. Alright guys, that's my review. Hope you enjoyed it. Till next time, keep watching movies, and I'll see you later.